letters which very few people knew how to read. As he turned over the pages to show me, a small piece of parchment fell out of pages to show me. A small piece of parchment fell out of the book onto the floor. My uncle says it. What's this? He cried carefully, unfolding it on his table. The parchment contained about 20 lines of the strange letters. The professor looked at the letters for a few moments. Then, lifting his glasses, he said, I am sure these are unique letters. They are exactly the same as those in the book, but I cannot understand what they mean. I must be a very old form of Icelandic. Professor Lidenbrock did not know all the 2000 languages used in the world, but he knew many of them. But he knew many of them. If he couldn't understand this one, he would certainly lose his temper. I was waiting for it to happen. When the little clock over the fireplace in the study struck 2 o'clock. At that moment, Martha opened the door, saying, "Lunch is ready, Professor." "Lunch, don't bother me with lunch," shouted my uncle. Martha ran. I ran after her and, without quite knowing how it happened, found myself sitting in my unusual place in the dining room. I waited for a few minutes. The professor did not come. As far as I knew, he had never missed his lunch before, and what a wonderful lunch it was! Soup, eggs, meat, and fish, served with an excellent German wine. My uncle was going to miss all this because of a piece of old parchment. Well, I was his nephew. I thought I ought to eat for him as well as for myself, and so I did. Professor Lidenbrock, not at the table, said Martha, shaking her head. That means something serious is going to happen. I did not think it meant anything except perhaps trouble for me, because I had eaten my uncle's lunch. I had just finished. I had just finished when a voice roared. I leaped from the dining room and ran to the study. गर्मी बहुत है यार. It's definitely unique, said the professor crossly, but I cannot understand it. I think it's some kind of secret message, and I intend to find out what it's mean. It's mean. Sit down. I get ready to write. I was ready. Now, I am going to call out to you the letters of our alphabet that match these runic letters. We will see if that solves it, but be careful not to make any mistakes. I warn you. I was as careful as I could be. He called out the letters one after another, and together they formed three lists, each of which had 7 words in it. but the words were impossible to understand. My uncle seized, seized the paper on which I had written and studied it for a long time. What does it mean? He kept asking himself. It's a puzzle where the letters have been purposely mixed up. Just things, perhaps, in their correct order, they will lead us to some great discovery. I doubled it, but sensibly I did not say so to my uncle. The professor compared the writing in the book with the writing on the piece of parchment. The writing is different, he said, and that double M at the beginning was not used in Ireland until the 14th century, so the puzzle is the least 200 years later than the book. I think one of the owners of the book must have composed it. But who was he? Who was he? I want to tell you something. Now, I wonder if he wrote his name somewhere on the manuscript. My uncle lifted his glasses and examined the opening pages of the book through the magnifying glasses on the back of the second page. He found a few faded letters. Arne Saknusim, spelling it ARNESAKNUSSEMM. Arne Saknusim. ऐसे कुछ है, पहली बार सुन रहा है तो खैर. He cried. That's the name of a famous Icelandic scientist of the 16th century. Those old scientists made some amazing discoveries in those days. Why Saknussemm may have written about one of them in this puzzle. The professor was excited by the idea, but why should a scientist want to hide a wonderful discovery in this way? I asked. Why indeed? That's the what we are going to find out. I shall neither eat or nor sleep until I understand this piece of parchment, and nor shall you. Shall you? Axel, he added. I am glad. I ate 2 lunches today. I thought. First, said my uncle, we must try to find the key to the code. That should be easy. The words on the parchment contain so many vowels that they must belong to one of the southern languages of Europe. सकनूसम. यार ये सकनूसम, मैं इसको सकनू बोलूँगा, सही है. बहुत मुश्किल नाम है, मुझे समझ में भी नहीं आ रहा मैं क्या बोलूँ. Saknu was educated man. When he was not writing in his own language, he would have written in Latin. So this is Latin, but Latin in a mixed up form. Well, I thought to myself, if you can unmix it, my dear uncle, you are a clever man. Let us study it, he said, picking up to the piece of paper on which I had written. Here we have 132 letters, Axel. But I was looking at the picture on the wall. A picture of a Graben. My uncle goddaughter was staying with a relative in Altona, and her absence made me sad, for I now confess Graben and I loved each other and were secretly hoping to marry. Graben was a pretty girl with blue eyes and fair hairs, who was rather serious about everything, but that did not stop her loving me. I worshipped her, and looking at that picture of her carried me into the world of memories and dreams. I was just thinking about walking hand in hand with Robin along the banks of the river Elbe when my uncle banged the table with his first. He brought me suddenly back to the earth. Axel, he said, perhaps all that has happened is that the words have been written down the parchment from top to bottom instead of across it.